Hi, my name's Ross Arsenault, and I'm an entrepreneur. Now, when you think of entrepreneurship, a lot of the times you think of routines. You'll see the BuzzFeed headline, Top 10 Ways to Cement Your Routine and Achieve Success, or the 10 ways in which you can leverage productivity to build a strong routine and achieve your goals. Routines are very, very important. Routines are important for setting goals and actually sticking to those. But a lot of the time, routines are generally associated with very specific timing. Very specific on-the-clock times. These 8 times I have listed up here, ranging from 5:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock, are the last 8 times I woke up. I'm going to put a little bit of extra emphasis in the fact that I got up at 9:30 this morning. If you're an entrepreneur, you do have a little bit more flexibility on that, and it allows you to be able to do it. Now, a week ago, that would have been 5:30. That's a 4-hour difference, but both of those fit into my routine perfectly. My routine's not about the specific time of day that it is. It's about leveraging the time that I have available to me in a blanket statement. Now, this is something that not many people do, even though the general principle of it is generally why people solve problems with entrepreneurship. My industry is ocean innovation, and it really came down through a lot of discussion with customers and people who are impacted by the daily problems in the commercial fishing industry for a long period of time, really understanding why it is that they're having these issues, the purpose behind solutions that you can build, not just having technology that can kind of work, but actual purpose-built solutions so that people understand that it's going to be used and utilized in a way that actually makes a difference. Now, right here are some quantifiable large problems, whether it's 640,000 tons of new ocean waste created on an annual basis from the commercial fishing industry, or any of these other large, clearly defined problems where you have to come up with a solution for. Now, at Assured, our solution allows fishermen to station their gear on the ocean floor and call it up when they need it. It's a fairly straightforward solution on that, but it really took understanding the problem and the individuals who were using it and the purpose behind it, not just the technology, to make it a success. And that was a key thing for us. This solution is in the ropeless fishing industry. And this quote right here is a few years old, but ropeless fishing was seen as kind of a crazy idea. But now it's likely seen as the only actual option, the only solution to the problem. And the problem came down from purpose and working with the actual individuals. Now, as an entrepreneur, the actual fundamental element of being an entrepreneur, I'm my own customer. To succeed as an entrepreneur, I have to then satisfy myself and then ultimately achieve another sense of purpose. And so a lot of the time when people hear about what I do, they assume I took the science background. But for me, problem solving really came down to a business challenge. I took business in school because it allowed me to understand problem solving in a different way. Now, most of the times, if you have an ocean tech company and you're sending stuff half a kilometer down to the bottom of the ocean floor, you want to have a science background to do it. But if you surround yourself with the right kind of people, you're able to make those things work. And business was understanding problem solving and understanding how to be an entrepreneur. If you can be a successful entrepreneur and achieving your other goals, well, then you've at least set yourself up to be in a position to succeed. For me, when I was in university, I was fortunate to be introduced to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The 17 biggest problems in the world felt on a global scale. But each of them has an opportunity to be addressed from more local understanding, the day-to-day problem solving and actual working with the people on the front lines who may experience that problem. I started a program in my final year of my undergrad and continued to actually run it here at the university a little bit after. And that was on picking out those key elements of global challenges that really resonate with you and working with the people who feel them the worst to actually come up with a solution for it. Purpose-based problem solving. So, in order to succeed as an entrepreneur, let's apply that to my life. This is a terrible cliche, but it's a really accurate one. Being an entrepreneur does not provide you necessarily the most stability. It's a bumpy ride. It is the roller coaster. It's exactly as it's described because you don't necessarily you don't know what turn's going to come next. You don't know what's going to make you all of a sudden just throw up because something just happened. It's not like it's not happened. It's the craziness of being an entrepreneur. You have to deal with the unexpected. But balancing time is not unexpected. We all have 24 hours in a day, and we all have to figure out the best way that we can utilize that, using it for ourselves because it's ours to own. People often say that, oh, Beyonce has 24 hours in the day just like you, and she can get so much more done. Well, we can't create time. We have limitations beyond that, and our time is limited. but I don't view it in your standard 24-hour day. So we have 24 hours that we can use to spend however we want to use that time. But doctor's order says we should spend about 8 of that sleeping. And however you want to kind of bend around those numbers, you're probably going to be semi-asleep for 8 hours a day. Whether your eyes are open, you're still probably asleep for 8 hours a day. We do also need to eat. Now, I enjoy eating, so this is kind of nice. It's a 2-for-1. I get to make food, and I enjoy doing it in the process. That's fantastic. But we also need to eat. And whether that's going out and getting the food, ordering the food, making the food, it's going to be a little bit of a carve-out in your day. So let's say you've lost 10 hours in your day just to survive as a human being, but you have 14 left. That means that you could break that down nice and easily for an 8-hour day for work, and you've got 6 hours to yourself in the evening. That seems like a pretty straightforward day. That's a nice routine to follow, and that allows you the flexibility that maybe you need, and maybe that works perfectly for you. But as an entrepreneur, I'm in a position where I don't necessarily have certain time that is carved out predetermined for me. Those 8 hours don't impact me the same way. A lot of people will do those 8 hours, and then they get 2 weekend days, full day off, no issues whatsoever, no work, don't even have to think about it. But as an entrepreneur, I don't have that ability. I can never not think about what I'm doing. I'm always in the back of my head working on my company, because at any point I could get an email that requires me to shift my entire day's focus to working on that. And so this isn't a common day for me, but it can certainly happen, and they're nice. But the best way to view things is to view things in a week. 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, that is 98 hours that you can do with whatever you want with. 98 hours is a lot of time every single week, 50 times a year until you die, however long that is. If you want to be able to get accomplished certain things, that seems like a reasonable amount of time. Now, some of us are not fortunate enough to be able to have full ownership of that 58 hours, those 98 hours. So maybe you only own 58 of those. 40 for work, and that's within your schedule, and that's completely fine. Now, as an entrepreneur, I like to view it far more granularly. Every single hour serves a purpose, whether that purpose is simply to get the job done or to just get me out of bed and pleased and enjoying the start of my day. Each hour has a different level of utility to it, and I can schedule myself in as many creative ways as I want, and that's nice. That's a liberty that an entrepreneur has that not everybody does, but it's one that is required to be able to stay sane. So this is my average workday, you could say. I've got my partner here who could probably validate that. It's a 10-hour workday, and so I'm going to maybe get up at 8 on the usual, but as you can see, it changes. Maybe that'll work till 6 o'clock at night, and that's your standard day. On the weekend, maybe about 3 hours I'll work. Who knows? Maybe it's before anybody gets up. Maybe it's a little later on. 3 hours is a decent amount of time. But I can get a couple things done on the weekend and not have to worry about that stuff next week. The 14-hour day off, well, if I did that for a full work week, I have the ability to take those days off. And eventually, as things over up and add up, you're going to be put in a position where you're probably going to have to do a full 14-hour day. And it gives you the liberty to then take that full day off. If you view everything in a simple 24 hours, we only get one shot at 9 a.m. We only get one shot at 9 p.m. But a week, you get a full chance at everything and can cross-reference things. You don't necessarily have to view every day as equal. Saturday, yes, in theory, is the day we're able to have the most time off. But as an entrepreneur, if I'm able to get my most productive 14 hours of work out of that day on a Saturday, well, who's to say I can't find value and purpose in the other hours that I have? 4 hours, that's a general one, whereas if it's a really tough day at work and I'm just not up for it, I'll work maybe 4 hours that day. I'd say I probably worked about a 4-hour day today because I wanted to be able to sleep in a little and prep for this, of course. I have the luxury. That's the thing I'm blessed with as an entrepreneur, but at the same time, it's the roller coaster, so it's a bit of a trade-off for sure. It's about owning your own time, though. It's about saying that I've dedicated this time to something specific, and I'm completely okay with it. That's really where it comes down to. What gets you up in the morning? For me, I love a cup of coffee. Some people pour their coffee, they get in the car, they go to work. That's important for them. If I can enjoy my cup of coffee in the morning for half an hour or an hour, where I'm just kind of waking up, read the news, that's great. Do I want to do that tomorrow morning? Yes. Do I want to do that tomorrow morning when I'm 90? Yeah. So who's to say that that's not the best use of my hour every single day? To me, if it's aligned with what I want out of life, then it certainly can be. What do I want out of life? I want to be able to spend time with family and loved ones and to be able to relax. It's a picture of my cottage. I love spending time in my cottage. You get to unplug. You don't have to do all the rest of it. But in order to be able to spend as much time there and be able to have that freedom, you need to make sure things align within your life. Does that cup of coffee get me up and get me started on my workday? Yes, absolutely. Does it take away my ability to get my workday done and ultimately achieve what I need to? No, absolutely not. Is that a reasonable end goal based on the business that I'm developing and the amount of time I associate that to? I believe so. But then I have to analyze my business the same sort of purpose way. I'm terrible at a lot of stuff, but that's why I chose partners who are really good at those things. Whether it was the actual mechanical design of a prototype that's going down to the bottom of the ocean, or having to network for 15 hours in Lisbon where you don't speak the language, that's going to be a high anxiety moment for me. My partner, Aaron, loves that stuff. So, is my business working with these guys going to be an opportunity for me to succeed? Absolutely. Now, my role, is my role perfect within the company? No. I have to do a lot of the boring bookkeeping. We're not a massive company, we're a startup. I have to deal with, I took this picture, I think, at like 2 in the morning one day, just piling up my crap at the end of, just trying to figure out, well, is this really worth it? Well, I'm making the TED Talk. This is a great example of one of those times where, okay, this is exactly what you have to do on those 14-hour days where you're working nonstop. And then there's also the other things, the subtleties. I was at a conference last week where this happened, and it happens all the time. I'm 25. If I didn't have a beard, I'd be 15 to all of you. But that's kind of a key thing. My business partner is 21 years older than me. I am his intern in the eyes of everybody. Is that something that I'm going to dedicate my day to being pissed off about? No. If people think I'm his intern, does that change the trajectory of the company? Does it change any of my other actual purpose-based decisions? No. So I'm not going to get bent out of shape about it. A lot of the time, this slide would be office politics. Office politics is one that a lot of people dedicate a good amount of their time to. Is there purpose behind those decisions? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. You have to make decisions and be completely okay with them, though. Because those 98 hours that you have within the week, they're done. They're one and done, and they never come back, and that's fine. So you just have to keep moving forward with those decisions that you've made. Every week, I spend time with my family. Love good supper, wine. It's about 4 hours. 4 hours of those 98 every week. I'll do that till the day I die happily. It's a good use of my time. Purpose-based decision. Gets the week started off on a good note. Your interests do not need to be at all important either. I like Star Wars, the galaxy far, far away. It is a silly sci-fi fiction, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And I do a podcast with my brother on it. Guess what? I'm not doing anything else at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. That's something that can fit in my life and gives me a little bit of happiness on the side. Perfect. You get a little bit of enjoyment here that allows you to be more successful with your actual hours of usage within the day. Another purpose-based decision. Purpose-based decision on the use of that time. When to focus? Well, this stuff is already kind of predetermined for you. When you've already set about the key things that you value within your day, the things that you want to put your time on, you're going to know when you need to focus to be able to actually get the purpose out of what you're doing. If you don't focus during the time you're supposed to work, well, then everything you're doing goes against your purpose-based decision. Same with zoning out. Don't feel guilty about watching television. It's something that allows you to recoup. It's just the standard part of life. At the end of the week, if we look back at those 98 hours, how many hours were you productive at work? We work 40 hours. Maybe you were productive 12, maybe you were productive 35, maybe you were productive 4. You may want to get fired if that's the case, but generally under those circumstances, nothing is as structured as it is on paper, so utilize that more to your advantage. Hours spent television, you're not going to carve that out necessarily before the week starts, but if it keeps you sane and it keeps everything else moving in the right direction, then why not? That is purpose-based time, in my opinion. And so I don't necessarily time my time on television, but I don't feel guilty about it. And if I'm stressed, I've got 2 little rabbits. And so I'll hang out on the floor, and they can jump all over me, and they're the most ridiculous things in the world. A lot of people have dogs, cats, but having somebody who doesn't understand any of your problems at all and still has no problem getting mad at you, that's always kind of fun. You need to be able to take a complete checkout of what you're doing every once in a while. Some people are able to do that with a sport, but for me, it's chatting with little creatures that can't chat back. So in the end, we have those 98 hours. Maybe you only have 58, but regardless, it's up to you what you do with that time. We only have those 98 hours per week, but we have those 98 hours per week for the rest of our life. And so that's something that we always have looking forward to, and the 98 hours that are in the past are in the past. So be purpose-based decisions with the 98 that you have moving forward, and good luck with the calculations.